Pan. Pan, the new Peter Pan movie. It's not Peter Pan, but it's about Peter Pan. It's just called Pan because Peter Pan didn't work out. It's Pan, the movie. Oh, shit. Pan. It's Pan. I don't know, Spanish-speaking people are gonna think that this movie's about bread because it's just Pan. This is the new Peter Pan movie, like a fantasy kind of adventure film about Peter Pan's origins, not the classic tale of Peter and Wendy, but how Peter became Peter Pan, really. The movie starts way off when, long ago, when Peter was actually a baby, and it shows how his mother gave him up for adoption. Yeah, his mother's played by the hot chick from Mean Girls, and she drops him off at the orphanage, and he grows up there. When he's 12, he's, still at the orphanage. He's got a couple friends there, and they kind of like just dick around or whatever. It's World War II in the movie, but that doesn't matter because pretty soon they go off to Neverland. And, he gets kidnapped by pirates, but it's not Captain Hook or anything. It's actually Blackbeard the pirate. Blackbeard, played by Hugh Jackman, actually. Basically, they're looking for fairy dust, and they're using a bunch of orphans that they kidnap from our world to mine it in Neverland. And when they get there, something really weird, everyone's singing Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. This is what happens in the movie. They're singing Nirvana when everyone arrives. And that was really weird in the theater because it's Nirvana. Everyone in the mines is singing it while Blackbeard comes up and like makes his entrance or whatever. And the thing is, that's not the only time it happens. They also sing Hey Ho, Let's Go by the Ramones. And nothing like that ever happens again except for those two songs. It's weird, we're not watching Moulin Rouge, we're watching Peter Pan, and whatever, that happens. And that's kind of a sign of how the rest of the movie goes. It's all supposed to be exciting and it's kind of fast-paced, but it just doesn't really add up altogether. Basically, at the mines, Peter meets James Hook, also known as Captain Hook in the Peter Pan stories that we're familiar with. James Hook is a lot younger, and he has both hands, doesn't have a hook hand yet. James Hook is played by Garrett Hedlund, and in this movie, like right off from the beginning, he's kind of like this badass loner. He's kind of like a cowboy, which I guess I never really thought about where Captain Hook came from, but it sounds like he's a cowboy. But yeah, he's like a badass. He's like Indiana Jones. Peter and him are trying to escape the mines. He, defeats like a bunch of Blackbeard's pirates, and it's really weird to see that, just considering like he just becomes a regular schlock about halfway through the film. So that's one character that's kind of messed up. Peter himself is also kind of messed up. At first, like, he does act like a kid and like his snarky self, and he jokes around a lot. But then once he gets to Neverland, he's unfamiliar with the world, so he doesn't really do too much fooling around or anything. The main reason why Peter wants to be in Neverland is that he wants to find his mother, and this is where the movie just gets completely messed up. There's a prophecy. It states that someone is going to come to Neverland and defeat Blackbeard and his pirates. He's going to be able to fly. So once Peter gets there, he actually kind of starts to show signs of filling out the destiny, which I just hate the destiny trope in movies. It seems lazy to me. So basically the Indians tell Peter that he's going to fill out this prophecy, and in doing so, he's going to be able to find his mother, basically. Which is weird, because Peter Pan as a character always seemed kind of laid back, irresponsible. Like, he didn't really care about the mission, he just cared about having fun. But in Pan, the movie, he has to live up to these expectations, and the movie's about him kind of like struggling to become the great warrior that he's destined to be. So, that's great, I guess. Something that I gotta bring up is that Tiger Lily, the Indian princess, is played by Rooney Mara. There's something about her that I wouldn't picture for the character, personally. Just kind of like a general feeling. She doesn't seem like the perfect fit for playing an Indian princess. I really tried not to get upset with the fact that Rooney Mara, a white actress, is playing an Indian character, but it's really distracting in the movie. It's too much to ignore. I know there's already been a lot of controversy in the news as far as casting discrimination goes with this, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I will say that it is distracting. It doesn't help the movie at all. But there's even more problems with the character of Tiger Lily. I don't remember her doing too much in the Disney movie or the play, which I saw a couple years back, but apparently now she's a main character in Pan. She's basically as much of a badass as James Hook is. So it's weird seeing the focus of a Peter Pan movie really be on Tiger Lily and Captain Hook. And Blackbeard, who I don't even think was a Peter Pan character. So Hugh Jackman plays Blackbeard. He's under like a bunch of makeup and fake beard and wig and everything. And it's kind of a shame that you don't get to see as much of him in the movie because he really is, just a delight, really. He doesn't really do too much. He's just the villain. Kind of a waste of Hugh Jackman, if you ask me. Peter Pan himself is played by Levi Miller. He's a child actor. He's not too bad in the movie. He actually is the main character, and even though I mentioned that the focus is on Tiger Lily and Captain Hook, he has the most screen time. He has the most lines. And it's pretty impressive to see such a young actor kind of carry the bulk of a movie. This movie is a prequel of the Peter Pan story, so they do incorporate a lot of famous lines and titles of songs into the movie. Well, you don't really see how Peter Pan gets his hat, it just kind of shows up at the end. But you see how he gets his dagger, I think. You don't see how Hook gets his hook hand. I guess that's being saved for another movie. There's a lot of action and chases going on in the movie. A lot of the time it's just the pirates chasing Peter, or Peter and James, or Peter and Tiger Lily, or Tiger Lily and James and Peter. Basically everyone's just chasing Peter the whole time. They try to bring in a lot of characters. Tinkerbell shows up for about 10 seconds, and that did nothing really in the movie. Smee shows up in the movie, even though he just kind of disappears part of the way through. Something I gotta mention, and this is gonna seem minor, but let me just get through it. At one point in the movie, Peter is told his mother's backstory by Tiger Lily and the other Indians. The way they do this is actually kind of cool. They show it through something they call the story tree, I believe. And the film basically just cuts to kind of like this minute or two of animation where it's just this recreation of events, but it's all done in kind of a wooden texture. So that was pretty neat. But about 30 minutes later in the film, they tell Peter more of his mother's backstory, which is fine. But this time they tell it using some magical water, and they recreate events using bubbles as characters and stuff. It just seems weird that this movie has two different scenes where they explain a character's backstory, and it's told at one point with wood, and at another point with water. That just seemed a little repetitive to me. It's probably a really weird thing to complain about, but I'm complaining about it. The movie uses a lot of slapstick humor that feels out of place just because it's done to an extreme cartoon-like effect, but it's done with live actors. A lot of times characters fall from flying ships or out of trees. I don't know. Falling damage doesn't exist in Neverland. There's a lot of pretty good special effects in the movie. They aren't too memorable, but it's better than having nothing. I'm not sure kids will like the movie as much because while there is action, there's actually a lot of kind of like slower parts where characters are just talking about, oh, Peter Pan's destiny, or there's a really stupid love interest thing going on between James Hook and Tiger Lily, because why not? God, it's weird still. Tiger Lily is played by Rooney Mara. It's really distracting because the one Indian character that actually does contribute to the story is played by a white actor, while all the other Indians are played by non-white actors, it looks like. Tiger Lily shouldn't be played by Mark Zuckerberg's girlfriend. They shouldn't have Nirvana or the Ramones in a Peter Pan movie. It's a lot of really weird, questionable decisions that were made that just make this movie really distracting. This movie's a bit of a trip. Just a lot of poor decisions to be made in this movie. The Jolly Rogers shows up. A crocodile shows up for a little bit. Mermaids are there, because why not? The phrase Lost Boy is used. The ending boils down basically to a chase that has a lot of special effects, riddled action, that doesn't really do much for audience interest. There's just this stupid love thing going on between Captain Hook and Tiger Lily, which is weird because I thought Tiger Lily was supposed to be played by a teenager. I thought Tiger Lily was a teenager or something. That's the way I always saw it. Tiger Lily is a teenager who's maybe like a little bit older than Peter Pan. Not like 30 years old or anything like that. I mean, Neverland is imaginative, as usual. It's shown in a pretty creative way. You see the forest, you see the mines, you just see a lot of special effects. There's just not much to Pan. God, it's called Pan. This movie's just really standard, really mediocre. Only the mistakes really stand out about it, which is not a good sign whatsoever. It's certainly not horrible, but it's not a good movie. There are moments when it comes close, but overall, I can't really recommend it. I give Pan 2 stars out of 4. Really, the movie is trying too hard to overcomplicate what should be otherwise simple material. With having no direction or consistency with characterization, pop culture references, in a Peter Pan movie that takes place during World War II, and a script that feels more like fanfiction than an homage or a tribute to a classic story, no amount of imagination or special effects can save the movie. The one thing you need to know for this movie, which should just set the bar for expectations, it was written by Jason Fuchs. It was Peter Pan by Jason Fuchs. Bring your kids. Thanks for watching. This has been Cowboy Rivers. I can definitely see this one getting panned by critics. I hate myself right now.